around Nigeria. Thank you very much.
The new town of Idori is situated 1,000 feet above sea level, while the ancient town is put at 4,200 feet above sea level. From the foot of the hills to the top now are 678 steps. From the foot to the top of the hills are 5 resting points along the trail. Rising from large expanse of land, mountains upon mountains, valleys upon valleys, it is indeed awe-inspiring size and form.
Okay, Dori. And it is very interesting. We have these ruins of district officer's house, where the DO, that is district officers in the colonial periods, resided. And we have Kata's well dug by Kata in 1894, very close to the first primary school that was built in 1894. And the primary school, you can still see the ruins. Wall. But one interesting thing that the court house, where people were judged, the court was built in 1904. One spectacular thing you can get there is the Chok Befu. Chok Befu is located atop of a rock just over the Odeja, that is Market Square, overlooking the
on the hills is the writing on the rock. Originally known by the Ame Orishabaye, sign of the height deity. The imprint on the hill looks like the letter of the alphabets. Some researchers say the letter is older than the Hebrew language. Some of the letters inscribed on the rock include X, NVII, an inverted V, and 2 slanting parallel lines. The ancient palace than the Hebrew language. Some of the letters inscribed on the rock include X, NVII, an inverted V, and 2 slanting parallel lines. The ancient palace contains several courtyards, uga, and major shrines. The Olori's quarters are behind and beside the palace respectively. The main courtyard is rectangular and surrounded by 2 long verandas and shrines. The palace comprises of several buildings interconnected with courtyards and doorways. A main courtyard for public gatherings and several private courtyards and shrines. Yeye, a tributary to Aaron, a magical pool of water which is said to be imbued with healing power. Hills serve as memorabilia. They are named after great men and women who lived their lives for the community. Agaga Hills. Housing the mysterious footprint is Agaga Hill, christened after Agogun, and popularly called the magical footprint because of its ability to expand and contrast when used in detecting witchcraft. Next are the shrines of the 7 Aworos, namely Osolo, Lori, Odofin, Jogoro, Sama, and Laja. Within these shrines are several others. These 7 priests and their shrines are very important to Owa in the successful administration of his people. The crown of Oduduwa, with his regalia, the Otitibiti, the Oriye, the Jorere horsetail, and the Ubo, the bangles inside of which a face, similar to the festive symbols, are engraved.
15, 2005. The group covers 75 hectares of land, and its buffer zone is about 47 hectares of land. In the group, we have 2 palaces, the first market, then we also have 5 separate places and 9 working areas. The dense forest where the river goddess of Moon resides. Once more, you are welcome. I'm Raji Lillian, Tolulope, Principal Museum Education Officer. This is Oya. That is a forest dedicated to Oya, one of the wives of Songo, god of thunder and lightning, and a co-wife to Osun. Ido Awo. It's a forest for criminals, like armed robbers. They are being carried and dumped here after committing offense to meet their death. This is Ide Eshu, dedicated to Eshu, god of natural justice. This is the first market called Oja Orokoto for the first settlers of Togo, where humans and animals trade together. This is Igbo Oru. This is the forest that prayers are offered before the Osun festival takes place. Main entrance to Igbo Oru. Third place, Obatala Christ, god of creativity. Second palace, Lady Ojoko, is being used by the Ogboni for fraternity. It's one of the sacred places. You have to seek permission, grant permission before visitors are allowed to enter to Igbo Esa. Their rights are performed for late hunters, and they are also buried here. This is the main entrance to the group that leads to the riverside. And we back to where the voting maize that will be exhibiting. We have the projection from the palace down to the riverside. I'll share with some of you. The traditional entrance to the group is called the Ark of the Flying Saucer. We have motifs beginning with the mystic class called Olobo Jigolo, the conjuring hands, a masquerade called Kamolonu, Egu Kamolonu. We have Bata drummer, a Gudugudu drummer, Egu Opeleva, that's the king's masquerade. We have Lajomi, a deity covering her beauty. Lajomi opening her beauty. We have Elenu's masquerade, Egu Elenu, the elephant hunter Timehin that discovered the forest. We have Agere drummer. We have snake. We also have a drummer. We have masquerade. We have Egu Labuata, Egu Aroluboji, Egu Eyefode. Then we have Osun priestess, that's Iya Osun. We have Osun goddess. We have Egu Lori Meta. We have Awuro Osun, that's Osun priest. We have Aruba Osun and the 16-point land, Atupa Oloju Meridinogun. Like I said earlier on, covers 75 hectares of land. In these 75 hectares of land, we have over 400 species of plant, in which 250 of them are medicinal. It's a herbal pharmacy. People come here to cut certain leaves. There is a living shrine and a sacred forest. We have people coming here for prayers, daily, weekly, monthly. We have the Osun devotees here. Also, we have monkeys, antelope, snakes, bells, like the white-throated monkey. And the water in the river is called herbal water. It's called agbo, not just ordinary water. The group, like I said, covers 75 hectares of land. And in these 75 hectares of land, no hunting, no fishing, no fetching of firewood, and no bush burning. You cannot come here and say you want to do anything. Encroachment is not allowed. There are taboos. There are also laws governing and covering the group. It's a World Heritage Site that I said was enlisted July 15, 2005. This is where the annual festival, Osun Osogbo Festival, is celebrated annually. This is the forest whereby the first settler of Osogbo started, where they began. Initially, over 500 years ago, Osogbo people were in a place called Ipeleomu. While they were at Ipeleomu, they were experiencing a drought. And amidst their altar is one called Timehin. While he was carrying the expedition, he came across a flowing stream. The place he met the stream is called Lakokan. He was overjoyed. He went back to Ipeleomu up the Iboku axis to inform his king, Laroye, the Owaro of Ipeleomu, that my king, I found a place The vegetation there is okay, and there's a flowing stream. The king, Laroye, the Waroki of Pelomu, Timeyin, the great elephant hunter, and other settlers agreed and migrated to this place. Or getting here, they have to build houses and fall trees. In the process of doing that, close to the riverside, a branch of the tree, while they were falling, fell into the river. Then they heard a voice coming out saying, Laroye, Timeyin, Gbogbo Ikoko Aromi Leti Foton, Laroye, Timeyin, you won't break my dying horse. They were shocked. Then the fairies in the forest that said, Osho Igbo Pele, Osho Igbo Erora, trying to plead with the goddess that she should have a compassion on them. And that's how the name of the town Oshogbo was coined. Osho Igbo, wizard of the forest, was gotten, and you have to call it Oshogbo, not Osho Igbo, but Oshogbo. Then a pact was made between the goddess and the first settler, in which it said a votary made, which must be a judge from the king's family, will bring certain items to her, and that's why you see them celebrating the Oshogbo festival. Then there's a lamp we call the 16-point lamp. It was also taken from the fairies that period, and today, 6 days to the festival, that light is being lighted. From 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., the Atauja, the sheep, and the devotees, they dance trying without it going off. You are welcome, and that's the book. This statue you see is called Osho Olomoyoyo. Osho is given as the goddess of fertility. Like I said in the earlier history of Oshogbo, the first settler and the Osho goddess, there was a part that he made that the barren among them is going to bless. And today people still come to make prayers and testimony about to bless them with food. This is every food for Aruba to the main entrance of the courtyard. We have the Aruba food starting from the main gate. This is where it's going to come out from into Osu courtyard. Here we have the first palace, the pavilion, and the Osu. This is the entrance to the Osu courtyard. We call it Agbala Osu. Here we have the first palace, the pavilion, and the Osu river. We also have the Diegbe and the Blue. This is the Diegbe, where the Diegbe comes to make prayers and requests, like those that have a spirit and soul mate. Sometimes you need some items based on what they think to do, but most especially those that like sweet things, biscuits, sugar cane, sweet. This is the first palace, and the first thing, inside the first palace, we have the stool of authority. The president and founder only sits once in a year on it, and that was during the Oshogbo festival, where he sits on the stool of authority and offer prayers. If you have to go inside the palace, we off and sing at the entrance. During the Oshogbo festival, this is where the Atauja and other persons sit, while the other activities for the festival takes place. This is the Oshogbo river. This is the river where the path was made between the first settler, Laroye, Timeyin, and the Osho goddess. This is the river where the Oshogbo festival is celebrated annually. And this is the river where people come to take the agbo, the sacred water. The river took its source from Igede Ekiti. This is the agbo of the Osho goddess of fertility. As you can see, her started welcome all, she doesn't discriminate. The water is for healing. This is an entrance to Igbo Ifa. The Babalawo, this is an entrance to their meeting place. Only the initiates are welcome, and they sit based on their character. Those are conscious, as people take sacrifice to know the marriage. Why this is a bed? They send birds on an errand. Birds are their messenger. The suspension bridge, built by the colonial master 1935, commissioned 1932. It was built to aid the villagers to cross the farm settlement and other settlements. Initially, it was built with sticks and bamboo. Why they built it is inactive. Later on, the goddess advised that she doesn't want anything on it. Rather, that's why you saw that both ends we have feel like there's something holding it as a main. We are inside the Yamoko culture where we have the Yamoko, Ella, and Kopolo. The Yamoko is in charge of security and entrepreneurship. It's a very new deity. We have wings. Then we have 3 pairs of hands. We have 2 birds as a servant, Asila and Asiru. During security threats, she sent her birds out to fly through the surrounding and see what is happening to inform the warriors to get prepared. Her 3 pairs of hands have a meaning. The first one
Basically,
is
stuff that has to do with
advice.
matters.
When you are giving good advice, you take things. The second one is of blessing. You receive blessing when you obey good advice. While the third one is a regret. When you don't take a good advice, you regret your action. She's also into palm oil making, adire, and also into poultry making. Ella. An intermediary between man and Olodumare. Is the God of peace and reconciliation. Obaluaye, governor of the world, manager of the state. Sokono is governor of the world, God of chickenpox and smallpox. Any taboos that is violated, the person will be treated with chickenpox or smallpox, or promises that are made not fulfilled. So it's not too good you make promises you don't fulfill or pledges you don't redeem. You see some person frustrating, pleading that they are going to fulfill their promises. They are going to redeem their pledges. So just trying to tell us be mindful of what we do and we obey the law.
Thank you very much for the trip around Nigeria. We specifically went to Ondo State, Idonre Hill, where the Idonre Hill is located. And we also, a few kilometers away from that spot, is the Osun Osogbo Cultural Grove, which is listed as a World Heritage Site. So it's one of Nigeria's World Heritage Sites. So without much ado, we would invite the president for e-commerce Nigeria to officially bid this program open. Over to Mr. Aliu Las Abdul.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues, members of the EP community. I want to most sincerely commend your sustainable efforts in coming up with these webinars, the Naija webinars. I think you have been, this is the third edition of this program. The theme for this program, for this webinar, as you said, is heritage and climate. So we all know that we are living witnesses of the impact of climate and climate changes in our lives and also on our heritage sites. As you rightly mentioned, ICOMOS Nigeria had a project heritage, theme of the CVI, that is Climate Vulnerability Index, which was held last year here in Africa, and Tanzania. Now, I would like to use this opportunity to just highlight 2 or 3 key important things, because we all know the importance of and the effect of climate change on our lives and on our heritage sites. Now, the CVI project, which was conducted last year, highlights the importance of connecting living communities on heritage sites with the understanding of climate change on their lives and on the attributes of the heritage they live with. The novelty of the project last year was that the involvement of the local communities in the workshop. We have tried to create a synergy of on the workings of heritage, understanding of the impact of climate by the local community, using the key attributes and values of the sites, and from their own assessment and experiences, sharing their experiences with modern scientific approach. So the project has more or less used the local, draws from the local knowledge and experiences to establish certain data and facts about the changes in climate, and which with the discussions with the community were being able, and they have also been able to understand the impact of climate change on their cultural landscape, and also the importance of taking the necessary mitigating measures, to reduce the impact of the climate change on their livelihood. Now, the second issue that I want to mention is also about the heritage professionals' focus on the values of heritage sites. It's not enough for us to appreciate or understand the heritage sites, the attributes of the heritage site, but also to actually understand the nexus connection between the living communities and the heritage that they create and live with. How do that heritage, sustain their livelihood, and how can we assist in using the heritage to sustain for sustainable development of communities living around heritage sites. Equally, we also need to emphasize the importance of heritage practitioners being the key conservators of their heritage sites. This preoccupation of conservation of heritage sites and leaving it there to decay is a very current issue in our strategy, as a problem in the management of our heritage sites. Quite too often, we take the trouble of conserving or restoring heritage sites that will just be left alone to go back on the decaying cycle. So it is very important that heritage professionals, try to look at the right functions, activities that will be used, in heritage places, such that the heritage resources are useful to the communities living around the heritage sites. And in that way, they will ensure the proper conservation and sustainability of such heritage resources. And as we all know, the impact of the climate change, especially the changes that occur in recent times, has had very, very negative effect on the on the habitat of so many communities. So it is important that in our discourse about the climate and heritage, we try to draw the communities enlighten the community about taking all the positive measures necessary to reduce or mitigate against the negative impact of climate change. So in that regard, I would say that this theme is quite relevant, especially this period that we have witnessed a lot of deluge of floods that has affected quite a number of communities across Nigeria and Africa in general. Once again, I thank EWG for sustaining this momentum and engagement with communities through these webinars. So I wish to declare this webinar open and hope that we will get the best out of the program. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, President ICOMOS Nigeria, Mr. Aliyu Las Abdu. So I would invite Mr. Daniel Ishaya to come and give a quick commentary on some of Nigeria's World Heritage sites that we played. And moreover, he was one of the participants on the Climate Vulnerability Index assessment and training that was done last year. But before we do that, we have one of his favorite sites, the so-called cultural landscape, and that will be the crux or what will ignite us into steering the debate that we have this morning. So let's take a trip down to Adamawa State, northeastern Nigeria, to see the state of the Sukor cultural landscape. Just stay along.
Sukur is a living cultural landscape with a reverent history of a centralized polity and civilization that dates back to 16th century AD. It is headed by the ED and 22 title holders. Sukur graphically evolved through socio-economic activities that ranges from animal husbandry, subsistence agriculture, iron smelting, and a lot of socio-economic activities that sustain the civilization. Sukur landscape is an outstanding example of a traditional human settlement characterized by drystone vernacular architecture, use of thatches, roofing, and they are visible on enclosure walls, silos, gates, corrals, and paved walkways. These illustrate one stage of technological advancement to another around 16th century AD. Apart from that, Sukur is associated with intangible heritage practice. It's directly and tangibly associated with events, ceremonies, festivals, belief systems that are of outstanding universal significance. The present state of conservation is fear. The way forward now is to conserve. I tell you that we are ready and for reactive vision. It will come up later this year. After the 2014 attack, all those structures, these people, in Cameroon as a single accounting loss. But thank God, the resilience, the people of school came back. There were actions reconstruction, restoration, and rehabilitation by the National Commission for Museums and Monuments, affidavit, World Heritage Property, ECOMOS Nigeria, Hungary Embassy, and whether some organizations have helped to construct to restore back the lost glory.
Yes, so that's from SUCOR. We've featured Nigeria's two World Heritage Sites, one in northeastern Nigeria, a SUCOR cultural landscape, and the Osun Osogbo's cultural growth in southwestern Nigeria. So over to one of the participants who flew Nigeria's flag at the Climate Vulnerability Index, Mr. Daniel Ishaya Mwada, to just give us a state of the current state of address or assessment, a current assessment of those sites, and then usher in our panelist, Mrs. Mercy Mbogela, Professor Revocatus Bukumba, and Mr. Tonye Dagogo. So over to you, Mr. Daniel Ishaya Mwada.
Thank you very much, Architect Faboe. I'm really glad to be here. Before I make my comment, I would like to make some observations on the just previously played video clips. I think the Nigerian heritage sector need to stand on her feet because the photographs, the video, and the audio, we really need to work on them. Compared to, let me say, if Kilowa Kiswani, their video clips is so clear, the narratives are very clear, so we really need to work on our own. I know we got this, maybe we were not well prepared for it, but we need to work on the video clips, please, Fabwe. And thank you very much. Let me just
sorry, Mr. Daniel. Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, I do acknowledge our fault, and I wanted to apologize to the General House for the poor quality of the audio, and that's why I endeavored to subtitle the videos. So please, big apologies, but I think the subtitles covered for it. Although I quite understand that. Having a good audio, which would be excellent, but I think the subtitling helped cover for any misdemeanor we had. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So having said that, firstly, I'm Mr. Daniel Ishaya, and I'm working with the National Commission for Museums. I'm a site manager here at the Ravis Hotikwa. It's a national monument, and I'm one of the 6 participants that participated last year in the CVI Africa training program. So I really appreciate the ICOMOS Nigeria EPWG, the Heritage Naija organizers for this rare privilege onto me, and to stand before the heritage giants, I can say, to present myself and my experience on the Climate Vulnerability Index. Similarly, I also, whenever I'm opportune to have this kind of a presentation, I used to send a shout out to the team of experts that developed such a wonderful CVI tool that analyzes climate change on heritage properties. And for organizing the training for the Africans, the 6th cohort of Africans. I think it's just the first cohort. Subsequently, more heritage professionals are coming up, and I think Nigeria is going to, Africa is going to continue to benefit from the program. I really don't need to say much because our president, that is ICOMOS Nigeria President, Mr. Aliu Las Abdu, has already said a lot about the CVI. So all I need to add is that CVI, that is a climate, it stands for Climate Vulnerability Index. So the short form is the CVI. And I think we'll continue to be using the CVI. So if CVI is a values-based climate change risk assessment tool developed by a few experts, academicians, specifically Professor Scott Heron and Professor John Day, both from James Cook University, Australia. So the CVI was I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the only scientific tool for analyzing cultural, heritage properties, both cultural and natural, and then mixed heritage properties. It improves the preparedness of measures for heritage sites and communities by investigating the timeline critical for cultural heritage into a new pathway for longer term resilience and resilience building and change management process of all sites. So CVI has to do with climate, and there are so many organizations that supported and have funded the CVI and also the CVI Africa. For the CVI Africa, I think Climate Heritage Network, CHN, is Africa is one of the major grant donors, and in the coordinator was Dr. William Megari. I think I don't know whether he was able to log in, but he was sent a link, and he coordinated the CVI Africa and CVI that was conducted previous to this one, because this is the second time in the whole world the CVI was conducted. So it was conducted on the heart of Neolithic Orkney and Wadensee, I think 3 sites. Part of Australia and Scotland. Who actually said was the fund is going to continue to be granted for the Africans to address cultural sites, heritage sites. Now, according to the, we all know, I don't need to say it, the climate change is, just as our Oga Aliu said, climate change is visible. We all need to know that it is here. So climate change refers to a significant long-term changes in the global climate system, that is the sun, which gives the sunlight, the earth, the ocean, and all the connected activities of the human beings. So because of that, the human beings tend to make a lot of activities that hampered the atmospheric system of the earth, that is the greenhouse in the atmosphere. So as such, we release it when it strikes the earth atmosphere, some of them get absorbed, some of them are reflected back, but some of them become opaque. That is, they don't go back to the outer space. So as such, it continues global warming. So it's the global warming that makes most of the changes we have now in the atmosphere that causes climate change. Let me share my experience on the CVI, and I think we all know global warming. So it's CVI, just as I've said, is as far as I know, the scientific, general or globally acceptable and widely ranged scientific that was used to assess risks of the climate change on heritage properties. So we started the CVI last year, and we had a very rigorous, studies, and at last it pays off, because we had a very wonderful workshop at Sukuru cultural landscape, which was done in Yola, and the report was sent. So it was to train, just as we were told earlier, it was to train this heritage professionals so that they can step it down to other heritage professionals that are within their. Really blessed this cultural landscape to be among the only two selected in Africa, and we're also blessed to have at least one of our heritage professionals, which is myself, to be part of the training. So there's a lot to talk about CVI, a lot, because we may need a complete in-person workshop in order to make all the analysis better. But for the benefit of us that are here, we all know that everything was hinged to the IPCC projection of 1.5 degrees Celsius of low emission, and aspiring to reach net zero by the year 2100, that is in the next century. So we learn about climate science in the CVI class, where we will be expected to observe heritage and historical climate data from various World Heritage sites, and especially the rainfall pattern, the temperature trend, the relative humidity, the vegetation, wind direction, speed, and other representative concentration pathways, that is RCPs, for at least about 30 to 50 years with their implications, which makes it much more scientific. We also learn about the key values, extracting the key values of a site from the, I don't know whether I'm audible, to extract the key values of all heritage sites using their SOUV, that is Statement of Outstanding Universal Values. Every World Heritage Site has a statement of outstanding universal values. From this value, you are going to extract the key values of the World Heritage Site, specific property values, and also the attributes of the sites. And having done that, you also have to consider the climate stressors of every site. And the climate stressors are what makes the effect of climate change visible on the heritage sites. And every site, depending on the nature of the site, maybe mixed lake site or cultural site or natural site. So every site has its unique on climate stressors. And for example, for Sukuru, I think we have extreme temperature trends. We have drought severity and intensity. We also have humidity. I think my Oga Aliu can talk about that one. And then after all, we are going to have all the analysis into a climate stressors scenarios time scale, which is 2030, 2050, 2070, and last 2100, which is in 30 years time.
Okay, Mr. Daniel.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's time to invite our experts from across the continent, Professor Katus Bugumba and Mr. Mersin Bugela, and our own, our very own Mr. Tony Dagogo. I don't know if he's around, to also join in the conversation so that we can begin to share perspectives of what the beneficiary, how the CVI did benefit them, knowing that it was not only done in Nigeria, we also had that in Tanzania. So that's the purpose of this program, to share knowledge and look at it post program. What have been the challenges what challenges have emanated. Yes. So
okay.
welcome.
Okay. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Faboy. So do you want me to invite them, or you're going to invite them personally?
Yeah, well, they're already invited anyway. Mrs. Mercy Bugela.
I mean, introduce them.
Okay, you can introduce them, please.
No, if you have their this, you can go ahead, please. If you have their profile. No.
Okay. Yeah, so permit me to welcome Miss Mercy Mbugela. She's the site manager for the ruins of Kilwa, Kiswani, and Songo Mnara World Heritage Sites. She manages the sites by ensuring thorough scientific protection and conservation for the benefit of the present and the future generation, assisting in building resilience and sustainability at site level. She also works closely with UNESCO, ICROM, ICOMOS, CVI teams, and Climate Heritage Network in the completion of the said activities. Also, we have Professor Revocatus Bugumba. Professor Revocatus Bugumba is a professional and experienced archaeologist in matters related to cultural heritage management, conservation, and community engagement and communication. He has initiated, led, and implemented conservation projects and participated in developing conservation and management plans for the ruins of Kilwa, Kiswani, and Songo Mnara World Heritage Site, Ujiji Livingstone, MP, and Kilwa Kivinje Historical Site. He was also the chief advisor to the Director of Antiquities on matters related to the best approaches to conservation, protection, and management of cultural heritage site resources of the Kilwa district. And we have Mr. Tsonye Dagogo. He is the current head of the Department, Heritage and Sites Unit, National Museum, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. He attained the rank of Assistant Chief Heritage Officer at the National Commission for Museum and Monuments, which oversees the museums in Nigeria. His areas of specialization in heritage practice and conservation include inventory and documentation of heritage properties, heritage management, environmental impact assessment, cultural heritage impact assessment, intangible cultural heritage, and climate vulnerability index. His professional credits, he has identified 42 heritage sites in Rivers State and one in Bayelsa State, Nigeria. Documented over 10 heritage sites, 1 declared, 1 proposed, and 8 undeclared. He has 4 publications and presented 8 papers during in-house workshops, 1 at departmental workshops, and 1 at the Association of Environmental Impact Assessment of Nigeria conference. So we welcome our panelists, and they're here to share their experiences of managing World Heritage sites vis-a-vis the Climate Vulnerability Index, the issues that did emanate before the program and issues that have emanated after the program. And let's see what we can deduce from it. So we've heard so much from Nigeria. Let's go to Tanzania, the land of Julius Nyerere. Welcome, Mr. Mercy Mbugela.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mercy Mbugela, a site manager for the ruins of Kilwa Kisiwani and the ruins of Songo Mnara, which found in Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania. I first thank the organizers, Samson and the team, for organizing this important forum or Zoom meeting where we meet all together and so as to share our experience on the issue of climate to our cultural heritage site. I'm managing the site which is Kilwa Kisiwani and Songo Mnara. It's the archaeological site which established almost from 9th to 19th century. The site, provides an exceptional architect, archaeological and documentary evidence for the growth of Swahili culture and the prosperous Indian Ocean trade along the East African coast. So most of the challenging issues in site is climate issues. As a member from Sukul Island, he already said climate issues on Sukul Island. But due to that issues, we collaborate with different international stakeholders as a means of finding mitigation measures so as to rescue this cultural heritage from the impact of climate issues. So we have a CVI team, and we thank Scott, John, Will, Megan, and the team for these initiatives. As a climate vulnerability index, it acts as a tool for assessing climate issues. For instance, in Afghan heritage sites, including Kilwa and the Sokol. As the Kilwa Kisiwani and Songomnala, we did a workshop last year, October, for the first time, where we involve the local community so as to have their knowledge on how they work or they find the measures so as to rescue the monument which found at Kilwa Kisiwani with their local knowledge. But apart from the local community, where we select the ruins committee and some members of the village, but also we involve the climate expertise, the one who did research on climate issues on site, who is a climate expert, from the university, but also other members from National Museum of Tanzania. So with the CVI, we found we found the climate status in site, including the intense precipitation events, sea level rise, and coastal erosion. These three are among of the big climate stratas, which are among of the threat to the property, where we have some of the monument. If you Google ruins of Kilwa Kisiwani and Songomnala, you can find most of the monuments are located along the coastal areas. So we see this, like sea level rise and coastal erosion means some of the monuments are eroded because of the impact of wave action or the impact of sea level rise. That's why climate vulnerability index is an important tool in our site. So we see these three factors. Now, with the involvement of local communities, we found some of the mitigation measures maybe that will help or can help to rescue this monument which are impacted with the impact of climate actions, like construction of gabion wall. But the most local method is mangrove plantation. We have this monument, I've already said, which are located along the coastal areas. So if you look to them, you can find that most of the monument which are impacted is because it is located in open areas without mangrove trees. So are impacted compared to the monument which are located close with the mangrove tree. So the solution is a plantation of mangrove trees, where it helps to reduce the speed of wave action or the speed of sea level rise to go directly to the monument. But also with the construction of gabion wall, on past years we did that, but also last years we have tried to construct a gabion wall close to Husuni Kubwa Palace. We have the palace which constructed in 14th century. So this the palace is among of the monument which are impacted with the impact of climate. So we have tried to construct a gabion wall as a means of reducing the impact of wave action to go directly to the monuments. So with the CVI,
Okay, Mrs. Messi.
Yes.
Mrs. Messi. Okay. We want to manage our time, so I want to invite Professor Bugumba to also give insight. You know, you're both from the same country, so in order for you not to mention the points you want to mention, let's just permit us to invite the Professor Bugumba. You keep some of your points. We'll definitely have them to share later on. Welcome, Professor Bugumba. You're on mute. You're still muted. Can you kindly unmute yourself? Okay.
Yes.
You may speak.
Yes. Thank you very much, Samson. And hello, could you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
yes,
me?
we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
you are permitted to turn off your video if your streaming is not okay.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to participate in this crucial
Prof. Bugumba, kindly turn off your video so that we can hear
discussion about. Okay. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now. You may speak.
Okay. To thank you, the organizers, for the invitation for us to participate in this very crucial workshop about heritage and climate. My friends, my colleagues have already spoken a lot about climate change and what is of the CVI process, and Mess has tried to stipulate about how we did here in Tanzania and to climate change. On my side, I think I'll touch, I should speak about what I learned from this CVI project. I've been a site manager for many years. I was a site manager, and through that, I got the chance to participate in this outstanding universal value. And what I've noted through CVI, that sometimes we do omit very important values in the site, because while doing that, assessing the UV vulnerability at Kisuani, and preparing what we call identification of the key in the legal values, I come to understand needed to be conserved. So we normally concentrate on monuments, mainly we will concentrate on monuments to create the values for the site. But when you start assessing the the key values, you note that we omitted a lot of things. So it's really a good tool for a process for site management and a good step for identification. All the values that have been omitted through the process of preparing the statement of unit. Also, while we do write those the state of conservation reports, you see that also we do concentrate only on monuments and sites, and we skip other values. So you'll find when we write maybe a state of conservation report that goes to UNESCO, is mainly concentrated on the standing monuments and omitting other values. To add from that, the way the process is engaging a lot of experts. It's a multidisciplinary nature of the process. Assisted us also to come close to the climate-related issues. As a manager for more than 13 years, I'd never actually done a lot more about the climate issue. So it was a chance of learning new perspectives on climate and heritage. Really, it was a good learning process as it brought on board many experts to speak about a single heritage, the thing that we had never done before. So this process was very crucial, and is very crucial for site conservation and management, as it is a broad way of doing, or of managing and conserving the heritage. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Lukato Sutukumba. It's a delight having you all the way from Tanzania. So still stay with us. Would hand over to Mr. Tonye Dagogo, our very own from Port Harcourt, to share his experience on the CVI and hopefully some good suggestions going forward, and what he sees about the CVI stuff. Kindly unmute yourself, Mr. Tonye.
All right. Thank you, Architect Faboye, Samson Faboye. Thank you, EPG, Emerging Professional Working Groups, and then thank you, the ICOMOS president, who is always my boss and will always be my boss. This webinar, came at the right time. I want to really appreciate the organizers for this webinar. It was an opportunity to domesticate or internalize, the teachings at the workshop, the CVI workshop, which was held last year, centered on two World Heritage sites, that is the Suko Cultural Landscape in Suko, Adamawa, and then also the ruins of Kiwa, Sowani, that's in Tanzania. So basically, the workshop was rich. Looking at CVI, I personally want to see it as a kind of diagnostic tool for minimizing the impact of climate change on our World Heritage properties, as well as the unscheduled, heritage properties. Unscheduled, I mean those that are not within, those that are not listed within the World Heritage properties. So it's more of a diagnostic tool, basically to minimize the impact of climate change. Of course, we know that climate change over the years has a devastating effect on our heritage. These heritage sites are visible with a lot of impact caused by climate stressors like rainfall, temperature, relative humidity, of course, flooding, and so on and so forth. Before the advent of CVI, of course, we've had tools which had tools that basically does not reveal or assess the vulnerability of climate sensors on our heritage site. Tools like the EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, which basically deals with the biophysical environment, the impact of developments on our biophysical environment, and then of course the Heritage Impact Assessment, which is an offshoot of the EIA, which deals with the impact of development on our heritage site. But the CIA basically captures the impact of climate stressors, basically
Mr. Tonye? Okay, it seems we having a glitch. Pending the time when we can get him back. We have a couple of personalities here. We have Mr. Sham Anthony, and we do have Dr. Salma Sabo. So one thing I've been able to glean from Mr. Tonye's short speech is to talk about the environmental impact assessment and heritage impact assessment. And I definitely would want to still invite Mr. Daniel Isha Mwada and we have Mrs. Mercy Mbogela here. How does the CVI synchronize with environmental impact assessment? And I want to still reach out to the House. We could begin to send forth our questions. We could begin to steer forth our debate. Particularly, we are concerned about increasing the nomination of African heritage sites as World Heritage Sites. For example, in Nigeria, we just have 2. Mr. Tonye Dagogo, from his vast experience, has been able to push or advocate for nomination, identify more World Heritage Sites. But then we are now beginning to have issues of climate change, which is, for example, in Nigeria, a lot of parts of Nigeria, central Nigeria, are right under floods, and there are possibilities that some heritage sites that could stand a chance of nomination could be affected by this flood impact. So how can we harness CVI to the extent of increasing our nominations on the World Heritage Site list? That's my question. And I hope we also have other people to begin to stir up questions. So Mr. Daniel, I hope you stick around. How do we synergize environmental impact assessment with the climate vulnerability index in such manner that we can then deploy these tools to nominate more heritage sites, noting that a lot of our heritage sites will keep going dilapidated due to the impact of climate change? Mr. Daniel? Okay, while waiting for Mr. Daniel, would want to also hear from doctors. All right.
Sorry, it's like I missed something. I had problem with my distance, so I had to change to my phone from my system. So I had to change to my phone. I think I missed some of the
Yeah,
comment.
yes. I was
maybe
asking,
somebody.
I was trying to ask. We are having issues of flooding, for example, across Nigeria, and well, I'm not saying hopefully, but it probably would be in other parts of Africa experiencing flood, and we are having this question of trying to increase our nominations of our World Heritage sites, increase our World Heritage sites list. We just have two presently, but then climate change will continue to impact and degrade existing or potential sites. So how can we harness or synergize environmental impact assessment, heritage impact assessment with the CVI stuff to increase nominations of our World Heritage Site list? Mr. Daniel?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Did you hear my question? Yes, please.
I think I'm just getting you bit by bit. Maybe you can go over to somebody, because I have heard something about flood.
Okay. Let's invite Dr. Salma Sabu from Morocco. She's a researcher on climate change and heritage. And during her PhD, she worked on the Imra-Gwen communities and the managers of the Parc National de Banque Agouin in Mauritania, assessing collaboratively the vulnerability of assets and values of the site to climate change. And more specifically to sea level rise, she's working on dissemination manager of the Climate Vulnerability Index Africa project in collaboration with e-commerce and the Climate Heritage Network. So, welcome, Dr. Salma Sabu. I don't know if you would have, yes, I don't know if you would have an answer to our question, looking at how can we synchronize environmental impact assessment with CVI to increase the nominations or the listings of our World Heritage Site or potential World Heritage Sites, noting that a lot of these potential sites are getting degraded due to climate change.
Yeah, thank you, Samson, for the question, and thank you very much for the invitation. I think it's really nice to have space for heritage managers and practitioners and researchers to discuss climate change and heritage management. I think, so in relation to your question, how can we harness environmental impact assessment more generally, and also protect heritage sites that are not designated yet maybe as World Heritage Sites, but who maybe have already national designations. I think one of the elements is that environmental impact assessments actually don't consider every element that should be considered when you're looking at climate change impact assessments. And this is the idea, first things from the Climate Vulnerability Index project, is that in addition to looking at physical changes, it is even more important to look at how those physical changes are affecting people's values, either local values or international values of a site, and then actually how the loss of this site, it can be a heritage, but it can be applied to anything, can be dealt with. And I think this is the main element that heritage practitioners can bring to the discussion, that climate planners and city planners are working with, is actually how to do holistic vulnerability assessment linked to climate change. Because I've done a lot of environmental impact assessments. You try to account for some social elements of it, but it is not done by including local communities, indigenous communities from the beginning in the discussion. And I think this is something that the heritage sector can bring to other sectors in relation to climate planning. In relation to protecting other sites and maybe making them World Heritage Site, I think this is something that needs to be decided, within the country, whether these sites need to be World Heritage Sites or not, because it's true that it brings funding and support for the management of the site. But I think the most important in including heritage sites and values within the national planning and within climate planning and climate change related planification, management, etc., that is done nationally. Because those sites, those heritage sites, whether they are natural heritage sites or cultural heritage sites, actually support a lot of values and support a lot of communities and support a lot of connection between communities. And it's a really good space to discuss about climate change and to actually acknowledge the impact that climate change is having and will have on the next generations. Because our generation now, we are observing some elements of it, and it's gonna be much worse in the future. So it is really important to include the values and the local values when you're looking at assessment and vulnerability assessment, because there is, okay, we're losing this piece of land, but what does it mean? What does it mean actually? Is this a problem if we're losing it or not? And is it worth protection? And I think this is where, as Bugumba and Mercy were saying, it's so important to include local values, people values in assessment of vulnerability, but also in planification for climate change, because you can't just plan things from the top and say people, you need to do that or you need to do that. You need to include everyone from the beginning in making those decisions to make adaptation planning and resilience planning efficient in the future. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salma Sabu, for your insights into our question. I think we do have a question from Mr. Surajuddin Awera, and he's asking that how can we improve, he's asking that how can the number of CVI be increased in Nigeria? Because I think we just have 2. So over to either Mr. Daniel or participants or other participants. Yes, over to Mr. Daniel.
Yep, thank you very much.
CVI just on what heritage sites?
Yes, before I get to his question, I would like to add to what Salma said, because I have heard her clearly. You know, the sign was so clear, and the scientists have worked upon so many papers. Hundreds and thousands of experts have worked on the hypothesis, and they have gathered evidences about this climate change. And if I may connect it to the flood that is incessant now in Nigeria, most especially the most part of the Kogi state have been engulfed, and other part of Nigeria, from Adamawa, from Taraba, from even Yobe, which is on the upper Benue, and has been affected from this flood. And in fact, this is the second time I'm witnessing this flood, because the first time in 2011, I was having my master's program, and it's part of our curriculum that we have joined we had to go for excursion there. And we have seen the menace that were caused by this flood. But the Nigerian government have been warned by the Cameroonian government that they are going to release their reservoir, which is a Lagdo Dam. And they gave at least 3 weeks early warning. And the same this year, they gave at least a 3 weeks early warning to Nigerian government that they are going to release this water. So let us synthesize our communities. Let us help in this evacuation or whatsoever necessary things to do, or let us also know how we're going to trap this dam so that it will not affect our community. But the people have not been warned, or they have not taken it serious, and this is what has happened. And I think everybody knows what is happening. Now, there are maybe a lot of heritage sites that have been engulfed by this flood. And if not there, I think the effect may be directly or indirectly on these heritage sites. So the issue of climate action plans has to come in, because Nigerian government has to enact a plan, although there are several plans, national action plans on the climate change, but the implementation is the most important thing. There is very low enforcement and implementation on the cultural heritage and tourism development networks in Nigeria. And I think if we can make our house clear, then we can have the chance to be to enlist more heritage sites in Nigeria. And to come back to my brother's question, he talked about how can we incorporate other heritage professionals in the CVI. And I think I just mentioned it earlier that the first set was just it's a cohort. The thing is going to continue in a cohort. But as we are told, it's going to be, the first set was, the first cohort was only 6 selected African heritage professionals. That was just concluded last year, and there are more trainings coming. But the issue of funding now is the most important, and maybe the expression of interest by the Nigerian government. We have the coordinators, and I think just as I've told you, Dr. Will Megari is the coordinator for Africa, and our just finished presenter, Dr. Salma Saburu, was the CV. She's now the CVI disseminator program manager. I think with these 2 people, we can, if Nigeria is going to have a very good partnership with these 2 people, we can still have more World Heritage site. Sorry, if Africa can partner with these 2 people, we still can have more CVI training course in Africa, because Nigeria will only have one heritage World Heritage site left, that is Oshun Oshobo. We don't have any other World Heritage site. We only have 2. One has been conducted on the cultural landscape, but we only are left with Oshun Oshobo. It cannot be conducted on the national monument. So, but other African countries can also benefit. That's my take. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We are gradually rounding up, but there are 2 questions on the ground now, and one will be addressed.
Excuse me, Samson, if I just want to add something to what Daniel has said.
All right.
I think first, we already have 6 heritage managers that have been trained on CVI. And if we can resource funding to organize maybe a workshop where they can share their experience, because one of the issues with the CVI as it is now, it's that it's just made for World Heritage sites. However, World Heritage sites are really few in relation to other heritage sites, national heritage sites in all African countries. And I think resourcing and empowering, so Bugumba, Daniel, Mercy, and the other trainees who already have training on conducting climate vulnerability assessment and have experience in managing heritage sites and World Heritage sites, and for them to feel empowered to actually share their knowledge and share the practice and also transform it. Because the CVI as it is today, I was saying it's only for World Heritage sites, and we need something. We need the climate vulnerability assessment that goes beyond World Heritage site and that actually can be used by any heritage managers. So I think, yeah, resourcing funding to be able actually to share this knowledge with more heritage practitioners in Africa, and also having a network. So the Climate Heritage Network is a network that actually helps different heritage groups in Africa to be connected, but also with other heritage practitioners in the world. So I really encourage any organization, heritage organization, either national, regional in Africa, to join the Climate Heritage Network. And we hope that we will be able to source more funding to conduct more seminars like that, but maybe deeper ones where we can really share information about climate science, about practical heritage management, but also about how to implement more heritage practices within the climate heritage planning. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Samson.
Architect something?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was just disconnected. Network
All right,
issue.
I wanted, I had a question for you. I noticed you were
Yes.
out. Yes. So
Yes.
just because we have to round up in 5 minutes.
Yes.
So yes. So
Yes.
now the issue is that we are having heavy degradation due to climate change or flood or disaster risk, and in that process, we are clamoring for nomination of more sites or listing of identification of more sites. And thankfully, from your profile, you have been been pushing the endeavor of identifying sites. So how do we, in the face of climate change, in the face of degradation, how do we keep identifying sites? How do we keep identifying sites? How do we, so in the face of environmental degradation, how do we keep identifying sites such that these sites are not?
All right. All right. Identification of site is a continuous one. You don't, because of climate change, relent in identifying sites, because these sites are the beauty of every nation and the world at large. So climate change shouldn't be an excuse for identification of sites. Basically, what you do is you look at ways to mitigate the effects, come up with resilient approaches and adaptation approaches towards climate change, and not to stop identifying not to stop identifying sites because of climate change. So that's my answer to that. So that is it.
All right. Thank you very much. So the last word from our Tanzanian cohort. We would like to know, aside the listed sites, that were pushed for the climate vulnerability index, how has the impact assessment of on climate change permeated into other heritage sites across Tanzania? Has other sites have they been their climate vulnerability, has it been accessed, or is it the EIA? What is happening going forward? I know Mrs. Bugela talked about some conservation efforts in terms of planting mangrove trees and the likes on existing sites, but what is happening to other sites? Mrs. Messin Bugela or Professor Bugumba, the last one.
Hello?
Yes.
In our side in Tanzania, actually, we haven't done a lot about tackling the problems related to climate change, but we do know that many sites are being affected. Those which are in the weather list, for instance, I was reading a paper from Kondoa, Rock Art side, is really impacted by climate change, though it is in the central Tanzania. It's a huge site, but the effects of drought and other things are affecting the sites, even the people livelihood there. So it's every site almost is affected. In those which are not in the wilderness sites, we know like we have famous sites at Bagamoyo. Bagamoyo is a very famous sites which relate to slave trade. As you know, Tanzania was a route for slave trade from Western Tanzania, Congo, and going to Arabian countries. But most of the sites have been really affected by sea rise and coastal erosion. Also, you know, Zanzibar, we have some sites. Last time we had a discussion with Scott and others and people from Zanzibar. Zanzibar is part of, Tanzania is a united country between two countries, Zanzibar and what was known as Tanganyika. So Zanzibar is part of Tanzania. So Zanzibar also is facing the same problem, but we have been having a discussion about how to go about it. We started a discussion with Zanzibar, and we are planning to having our project that will be done for both mainland and the island. Also, we are thinking of bringing together, we had the discussion of trying to bring together those experts, those in the World Heritage or those who are not in the, or from other sides, because the impact of climate change goes everywhere. Those sites we see, they seem are not in the World Heritage. Maybe in the future they will be World Heritage because they have got all the values, but we haven't decided maybe to put them on the list or starting the process of nominating them. So the impacts are there. So we have to go both the tackling problem in the World Heritage sites and those which are not in the World Heritage list. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Something.
Yes, we have to round up.
Yeah. Something.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Briefly.
Yes, Tony Dagogo once again. I'm looking at one major problem with our workshop, is not organizing the workshops, but the internalization and, domestication of, these workshops. We have a lot of heritage sites, both scheduled and unscheduled, Take, for instance, the Oshun-Osogbo Sacred Grove. It's very important that CVI is domesticated here. It could be done in partnership with NCMM, CVI and NCMM in partnership, and then to achieve that. You look at, you watch the video clip on Oshun-Osogbo Sacred Grove. Basically, you could see most of the sculptures, and so on and so forth. That shows that relative humidity is high. You see, heritage managers there need to be well informed on how to tackle the effect of the ravaging moss on the sculptures, monuments, and so on at Oshun-Osogbo Sacred Grove. Else, it's going to be difficult dealing with it, because if the coverage, if it covers the entire distance, it's going to be difficult. We just have to start thinking of a way of domesticating it, and then come up with proper solutions as to mitigate the effect of moss. Maybe thinking of not just eco-friendly materials, but also animate materials. It could be, you have some animate paints now. You have the vitreous liquid from Afshat and so on, could also be handy in tackling some of those things. So that's my take. I don't know. And then luckily we have a resource person. I'm talking of Nigeria, the person of Daniel, Shaya. Of course, he could, at least, if there's a partnership, he could be the resource person. At least that cuts the budget for such a project, instead of flying experts from here. Of course, having gone through this, that's a pilot scheme anyway, a pilot workshop. So he should be able to spearhead that, and I think we are good to go. A lot of heritage sites, whether World Heritage or non-World Heritage sites, will benefit, through such domestication. I think that's my take on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I want to appreciate our attendance, taking our time. Sorry, we've overshot our time by 10 minutes. But then, however, I see that we have steadfastly remained online and attentive to the proceedings today. We'll have another session tomorrow. And we want to hand over to the president, the coordinator for the EPWG on the Africa region, Ms. Alicia Barry, to give us the vote of thanks and round off the program. Over to Alicia.
Hello, Sam. Hello, Sam. Sam, it's me, Daniel. Hello, Sam.
Yeah, just kindly drop your comments on the question. Drop your comments on the question.
We have dropped it, but you have not seen it. There's a pressing question that needs to be answered maybe by the Tanzanians.
Okay. Alicia, please handle that, please. Handle the questions in the chat box and wrap up for us, please.
I'm sorry, which question is it? Can you handle it, please, Samson, and then I will do the vote of thanks.
Hello, Sam.
Yes.
I think in the chat box there are two questions. from
Okay,
us.
okay. Dr. Sama Sabu is saying that if you're interested in heritage and climate change, we have a WhatsApp group to keep this discussion. Please feel free to join and present yourself to the group. Here's the link. So Dr. Sama Sabu has dropped a link. I think we can do ourselves a favor by joining on the link, the WhatsApp chat group for that. Yes. So you can join the Climate Heritage Network if you are a heritage organization. Everyone is welcome. Yes. And she has also dropped her email address.
Yes, if you have any questions on the Climate Heritage Network, the WhatsApp group is just a group with that was created following the CVI Africa project, and we're just trying to have a place where we can ask quick questions, share events or things like that, or discuss issues that we might have, but just like creating a heritage community in relation to climate change. And for the Climate Heritage Network, yeah, anyone can join. That is an organization. I think that the Daniel's organizations is one of the African organizations that have joined. So Daniel can also share with you how easy it is to join the Climate Heritage Network. Thank you.
All right. So Alicia, please wrap up for us.
Thank you very much, Cynthia, and thank you to you and to all the organizers for this very great first day of the Naija series. So it has been a very beautiful journey into the heritage of Nigeria and even other countries like Tanzania. We saw the importance of the past and the history. We saw the importance of the sacred, the importance of the life, both human and of the nature. And we mostly see the connection between living communities and heritage. We also, of course, some theme of this Naija webinar, connection between heritage and climate, especially today, is really in the we also saw this very great example of the CVI project and how it can be applied onto our heritage in Africa, in particular with the examples of Nigeria and Tanzania. So my name is Alisa. I didn't introduce myself, sorry. I'm the coordinator of the EPWG for the African region. And with the idea, it was an idea of Samson that we collaborate with other national committees, and especially here today with ICOMOS Nigeria. So ICOMOS Nigeria is one of the most active national committees of ICOMOS Africa. And it was very a great pleasure for me and for us as the EPWG group to collaborate with you guys, with ICOMOS Nigeria, for this first collaboration. And I do hope it will be something that we will continue. We are already continuing tomorrow, of course. And it's also a great occasion for us to stress the importance of the youth, because this event was organized thanks to Samson, who's the coordinator of the EPs in ICOMOS Nigeria, and it's a great example to show how the youth can be active in the professional sector, but also in heritage in general. So I would like to thank you all once again for your participation, for the great presentations, and invite you to come tomorrow for other great and interesting presentations. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Alicia. And on behalf of the organizing team for Heritage Naija 3.0, we declare this meeting closed, and we hope to see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Nigerian time. Thank you very much, and do have a great rest of the day and week ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
I think we need to extend this tomorrow to 3 o'clock, 3 hours.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.